and this is my son Micah, and we're here with our chosen beverage, coffee, to talk about El Deafo, which is which is a graphic novel about a little deaf girl, and it's a book that I just read, but Micah has read many times.
Many times.
And what with the hurricane and everything here in Hawaii, we have had a little bit of extra time to read the book and make this kind of video. So, Micah, would you mind talking a little bit about the book and what it's about and what you got out of it?
Well, I really thought that it was a really good book, as it is written by the person it's about. It's essentially a biography in graphic novel form. So it's good for it's a biography directed towards kids. So it's good. It also takes on like a cutesy kind of art form that has bunnies instead of people. Bunnies.
Did you think that was more effective for storytelling?
Yeah, I think that bunnies are cute, and I think that it was an overall good choice. And plus, it makes it easier to draw. It makes it easier to draw stuff.
So what was the story about?
It was about a little girl who got, let me check something, who got meningitis, I'm pretty sure, and then lost her hearing. It's basically a story about her adapting to her hearing and getting new friends because she moved out into a big city.
From a big city, right?
No. She moved into a small town. She moved from a small row house in a big city to a big old house in a small town.
Yeah. Do you think that what did you think about her hearing aids and your perspective of that, being familiar with hearing aids, right? You're familiar with hearing aids, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I feel that they pretty accurately portrayed him because, as stated in, let's see, one of the pages here, as stated on page 25, she mishears one of her best friends. So her best friend is actually saying cherry pop, but she hears Jerry's mom. She's saying juice, but she's saying juice, but she hears shoes. She's saying Coke, but she hears a goat.
So why is that accurate?
Because after a long time of living with you, I have gotten used to your mishearings.
My mishearings.
Once I said something, I forget what the word was, but she misheard it as something really, really crazy. So, yeah, I think that accurately portrays it.
What about volume as opposed to where she's talking about volume? In the book, she talks a lot about how speaking louder isn't necessarily the answer to anything, because it only amplifies a bunch of gibberish. Have you found that to be true, like
Yes.
in your experience living with me?
Yes, especially when you don't have your hearing aids on in the morning.
Yes. Right, and then you just need to articulate better, right? So I can lip read you better. Yeah. So who would you recommend this book to, Micah? Who do you think this book is really a good book for?
Well, either a deaf kid or a kid with a deaf parent.
Why a kid with a deaf parent?
Because then they'll get a lot of the jokes
Uh-huh.
because of their mom or dad having the same problem as the kid in this book. So it's pretty funny
Yeah.
if it's.
Do you think it's funny though for people who don't know anybody who's deaf, do you think they would still get some of the jokes in there or understand what they're talking about?
I honestly don't think so, because they don't have any first-hand experience. I mean, maybe they have a friend who knows people who are deaf, so they'll hear stories about it, but they won't understand it like fully. But overall, it's just a good story. So yeah, I pretty much recommend it to anybody, but I'd really recommend it for either a deaf kid or a kid with a deaf parent.
Alright. And Micah, just for the people who don't know you already, how old are you and what grade are you in?
I am 10 and I am in 5th grade.
Alright.
Just starting.
Just starting. So I think that's about it. Over and out.
No, the graphic novel.
Oh,
question.
sorry. Okay. Graphic novel question is. Oh, right. What do you think of the author's choice to make her story? Oh, what do you think the benefits or drawbacks? By the way, these are the questions that are on my blog. They're the discussion questions, which I wrote out into a PDF format. You can download them, you can talk about it. There's a lot more questions here than Mike and I are actually discussing, but yeah, I hope it's useful. So anyway, question he wants to talk about are, what do you think the benefits or drawbacks of it being a graphic novel are?
Because I feel really strongly that graphic novels are underappreciated. They're really great. So the biggest interpretation of graphic novels that I think is wrong is that they're comic books. Almost everybody, basically everybody in my school thinks that graphic novels are comic books. There's a difference. There is a difference. For example, graphic novels are often thicker than comic books. Also, graphic novels often portray a full story rather than comic books, such as Garfield. Garfield is a bunch of shorts tied together in a book. Whereas a graphic novel is one story in a book. Whereas in Garfield, it's like 10, 20, 30 stories in a book. So I think that that's the major difference. And also they have chapters. So chapters.
So it's a full-on book. It's a real book. But
With
what do you
pictures.
think the benefit of this story being told, this memoir being told in a graphic format is?
It's easier for kids to understand it because they can see what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have to, and also they don't have their hearts broken watching, say, a movie about it and seeing that they imagined it wrong. Like just saying, oh yeah, you imagined this character wrong. They actually know what the character looks like, so it's cool.
Right on. Okay, is there anything else you want to talk about?
Oh really?
Okay, so we'll wrap up?
Yep, over and out.
Okay, cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for filming me, Ro.